Hello and welcome back into Scout Team Sports. Today we're shifting our focus. We've done a ton of NBA videos and draft recap. The summer league is starting to wind down and everybody knows what that means. It's time to turn our attention towards fantasy football. I've decided to loop in my friend Justin Santana, who's joining us here today. He's going to talk us through the draft. But first, Justin, tell everyone about some of your experience with fantasy football.
Well, I've spent a lot of years both commissioning and playing, won several leagues, as recently as a second place a couple years ago, so a little salty about that. Lost it by a Jahmyr Gibbs holding call, getting 30 yards, getting called back, and cost me the championship. But no, just a lot of fun, and looking forward to this season.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm nervous doing this with you in particular because we're in 3 to 4 leagues together. So it feels like I'm sharing insider secrets with somebody who's going to screw me over. Like, I'm just letting you know straightforward, I feel that way right now.
Oh, you know what? I feel the same way. You've got, in the league I care about the most, you've got a draft pick in front of me, and we're going to talk about the guy that to be honest, I'm taking him in every league I can get him in. So.
Oh, yeah. And a little funny story for you guys. Justin, if I'm putting in pre-podcast projections right now, he at some point is going to bring up some way to talk me into trading him the number 2 pick I have in our dynasty draft. I'm calling that now. He's going to hype up a player and then try to sell him to me. It wouldn't surprise me. But with that, folks, we're going to jump straight into it. So today, like we talked about, we are talking just early season draft prep. It's still a ways away. We get it. But there are guys that we're already seeing based off ADPs, or I'll say it more clearly, Justin sees it based off ADPs, where he thinks that there's a lot of early value to be had. So we're going to start talking about it, and we're going to kick it off, Justin, with guys that you feel like were just early round targets. Maybe, I'll let you do the explaining, but what makes these guys appealing to you in the early rounds?
Well, first and foremost, you'll see the obvious one that, everyone wants him on their team, but at the same time, everyone doesn't, and that's Christian McCaffrey. He's this year's the lowest ADP he's had in probably the last 5-6 years now.
What is he at? What's his ADP right now?
He's coming in at ADP 9, running back 4 off the board.
Okay.
That's a full point PPR. So we are, taking full advantage of everything CMC does for us on our rosters. We're getting reports from Kyle Juszczyk that, he looks healthy. He's looking explosive. That's not things we've seen from his teammates coming in the offseason recently. Even last season, they're coming in saying, well, he's rehabbing, doing whatever. They're actually coming in saying he looks healthy this year. So not only that, with the 49ers, they didn't have a whole lot of offseason acquisitions as far as their offense was concerned. They did bring in that rookie Jordan Watkins. He's a late round wide receiver. They brought in Jordan James as a backup running back, but obviously if he's healthy, CMC's going to carry the workload. And especially early on with Brandon Ayuk coming back from injury, a lot of talk about him not being ready for week 1. I think you're going to see CMC and George Kittle carry a lot of the load, but if he's healthy, CMC is the best running back in the league. So at ADP 9, I definitely think he's a steal there.
Yeah, and I'm curious, do you have the ADPs pulled up?
Not all of them, no. Just the guys I was going to talk about.
Yeah. Do you remember who was around CMC afterwards? I can look it up, but I just feel like I was trying to think who is it that he's getting picked right before, right after? Because to me, that's going to be the decision.
I can tell you the 3 running backs going before him are Bijan Robinson's RB1, Saquon Barkley's RB2, and Jahmyr Gibbs is RB3.
Okay. Well, that seems like a fair place for him to slot in then. If I'm being honest, I think if it came to me at 9 and he's still on the board, would I take him? Absolutely. I wonder if that's going to change prior to the draft. Is the guy who's drafting 7 when drafts start in earnest, are they going to be sitting there thinking, okay, enough of this, CMC's on the board, I'm going to take him? Or are people just going to follow those kind of draft projections throughout their draft?
You know, that's something I wonder as well. But when I look at the three guys that are going in front of him, none of them have, I guess Saquon kind of, but at least recently, none of them have the injury concerns that CMC has and that people are worried about and that's causing him to fall. And then you look at guys like Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs that have that dynamic pass catching ability that CMC also has. And, they have the potential for that 60 to 80 catch season. I don't quite think that those are 100 catch a year guys, but I do think they could get that 60 to 80 catches a year.
Yep.
And, potentially that 1,000 receiving yard mark like CMC has hit before. They're younger. They're just as, if not more athletic. So, I definitely see those guys being in front of him. Saquon, I think, just doesn't have the injury concerns that CMC's had recently.
Hold on now.
Yes,
say Saquon doesn't have
recently.
injury concerns?
Recently.
Oh, it's in the last 12 months, I guess, yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
If you look at the last 12 months and what Saquon did last season, the hype behind that and what the Eagles have done as a whole, I see that causing him to rise. Now, don't get me wrong, I could definitely see those two swapping on the RB3, RB4 mark coming off boards come closer to, regular season.
Yep.
Especially as we get more reports out of camp. I could see those guys swapping in full PPR leagues, definitely. In, half PPR or even non, I definitely see Saquon being that RB3 in front of CMC.
Yeah, and I feel like, to put a bow on where I stand on CMC and why I'm kind of glad you included him in this, is that I feel as if he's a guy who, it is a boomer bust pick. I don't think anybody's going to be saying anything different than that. But he is a league winner at 9. If he hits and you drafted him at 9, then you're feeling really good. And you have a chance to sincerely win your league because of it. And now shifting gears, Justin, I'll let you explain why you like Drake London so much, but I'm interested in hearing that. I feel like I've drafted Drake London no less than every year he's been in the league. Like, if Drake London plays in the NFL, he somehow finds a way onto my fantasy team.
Well, at least over the last couple of seasons, something I've started looking at a lot are those last couple of weeks in the regular season and the connections that guys are making, especially with young quarterbacks. We saw Michael Penix come in week 17 and then also 18. I weigh week 18 a little bit less. Obviously, they didn't have much to play for. We're playing against second-string guys. But Drake London also last season had a 29.1% target share. So, we're at that point, we're talking 1 out of every 3 to 4 passes is going his direction. And, again, they didn't add a lot in the offseason, unless Kyle Pitts takes that step that they've been wanting him to take since his rookie year.
Nah, don't start. Don't even. Let's just say that's not happening. I think at this point, I'm on the bandwagon. I'm just saying, like, Kyle Pitts for me is done. Like, hey, as someone that's drafted him 3 out of those 4 years, I agree. I think he's done. I think a lot of that stays the same, and he did have really good chemistry with Michael Penix in those last 2 seasons. Week 17 and 18, he went 7 for 13 for 106 yards in week 17. Week 18, he went 10 for 18 and 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So, again, you take that last week with a grain of salt, but, personally, I'll take 7 for 13 and 106 yards a week every week of the for a wide receiver one, I'll take that all week long unless it's Jamar Chase. This is a guy that won me a couple leagues last year. I had him, I will say this. If you draft Drake London, be prepared for week 1 to be an absolutely shitty performance. I don't know why that happens with him, but I think last year, I think he got like 0 or like 1 catch. Like, he had 1 catch maybe. So a couple of points in a PPR league. But I do feel like another upside guy for sure. With a low floor, he's becoming like the discussion needs to be had around Drake London now is like, is he a low floor or a high floor wide receiver 1 on your team? Just because I think that the target share he commands, like his abilities on the field, the size, like the catch radius, his like work around the goal line in particular, he's going to rack up points. I don't really care even who his quarterback. He's almost one of those non-even quarterback dependent wide receiver 1s for me.
He is, and where he's coming off the board, ADP at 18, wide receiver 10 off the board. So you're looking at that early to mid second round price tag for him. I mean, honestly, I think he's a first-round guy. So, I mean, getting him in the early to mid-second round, I think that's an absolute steal for him, and you're going to get a lot of value out of him at that ADP. I mean, personally, I'd even be willing to reach a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm. Now let's shift then, I guess. Let's talk your last early round target. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. I feel like I got burnt by him last year. And I know that, some things are changing in Arizona, but what makes you believe as much as you do apparently in this bounce back campaign for him?
Well, I mean, honestly, so first off, you look at the lack of additions. I mean, again, they didn't add a whole lot in this offseason. He's their big target name along with Trey McBride. But, I mean, he's going to take all of those deep targets. He's got that big body, big catch radius. He's going to take the red zone targets. And honestly, if you look at last season, Trey McBride really doesn't have that real end zone, red zone skill set.
One touchdown, right? It was like last week of the year. I think he had one touchdown all year, right?
Yeah, I think on the year he had 1 or 2 touchdowns, but he's not really stealing those high value targets from Marvin Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a full year in the league now. He's gotten to see the competition level difference between college and the pros. I think he's going to make that adjustment. A lot of this for me is also on Kyler Murray. I think he is going to show improvement this year. I think he's coming in healthy. But
Call of Duty doesn't come out until like later in the year. You'll get a good few months, guys, before COD launches, and then we're all screwed.
Assuming they can keep Kyler Murray's head on the game and not in video games, I think we'll see a leap out of Marvin Harrison. I don't know what happened to my notes here, but my notes I had on him are gone.
I can tell you why you look for those. He flashed. I mean, there were definite weeks last year, specifically those like early mid-season maybe, where he had a couple of 2-touchdown games, some massive performances. Him and Kylo were syncing up. They were taking shots downfield. But I think just as that Cardinals season stagnated a bit, it was kind of slow sledding. So it's for me, and I like that you included him too, because I could see this being like I don't have the ADPs pulled up right now, but I'm assuming Nabers is a first round guy at this point, or like a very solid first round guy. You could get that level of production because there are similar talents. Like you look back to same draft class, similar draft profiles. So it's like you could get that level of production for a fraction of the cost, considering he's a full round later.
And I'm actually really glad you brought up Nabers in this comparison, because as someone who's keeping Nabers in our keeper league, I 100% agree with that. I think you're going to get better quarterback play, because I think Kyler Murray is going to have a much better season than Russell Wilson will. I think Nabers gets a little bit more of the target share than Harrison will this year, again, just due to Trey McBride, but I think it'll be very similar. But better quarterback play. I think the upside for Harrison, and he had an ADP of 33, so we're looking, mid to late third round. I think that was part of your disappointment last season too, was there was such hype behind him. He was taken in the first round last year. Mm-hmm. So when you put that type of hype on a rookie, there is that adjustment period that I think every rookie wide receiver goes through going to the pros. So, he takes that leap this year. I think you get a steal in the third round.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And I think like people are going to feel burnt for probably, just like I said in the beginning, this probably for undeserved reasons from him. Like he was a rookie wide receiver after all. So I think as a third round value, that's something that could, again, pay dividends. Like that's somewhere where you could potentially get a first round type season in the third. So I do like that. Now let's shift focus. You supplied a few guys that you thought were really good mid-round targets. So let's look at the mid-round values you have there.
So the first and highest one that I have is going to be Tett McMillan out in Carolina. He was a first-round draft pick for the Panthers. Let's be honest, their competition behind him is minimal. I mean, they have Adam Thielen, who's definitely aging. Showed last season. He still has a little bit in the tank, but he's definitely lost a step. And then they've got Xavier Legette, who showed some flashes last season, but I mean, I do believe Tett McMillan's definitely going to step in and be the number one guy right away. So he'll get those meaningful snaps. big body guy, 6'5", 212 pounds, ran a 4.48 at in the 40 at the combine. So I definitely think he's got that athleticism. He's got the vertical to be able to be that red zone guy for them. Finished the 24-25 season with 84 catches, 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns. In a tough conference in the Big 12, I think there's a lot of good things to come from him. Do I think he's going to have that rookie season, that adjustment period? Absolutely. Is he going to have those bust games? Definitely. You always have that adjustment period, but he's definitely someone I think has a bright future. And in the 5th round, I definitely think he will return value on that.
Yeah, and I think so. If I'm I'm a Panthers guy, kind of. I'll put it that way. I live in North Carolina. I like the Panthers. I hope they do well. I watch more red zone than I watch Panthers games. But with that being said, I feel like he has the ability to carve out specific roles that could be really great for fantasy and in real life. So you look at his size and his the lack of other red zone options on that team, and when they get into into the red zone, they're gonna have to throw the ball to somebody, right? And I think he could fit that role over some of the guys you mentioned. Like Thielen will obviously still get whatever of his. Leggett could take a step forward. I'm a Bryce Young believer at this point. I thought he showed enough last year to where you can put some stock that he's going to be better than what he showed at the beginning of last year. I will say don't sleep on Jalen Coker, second-year guy out of Holy Cross last year. He came on late in the year, really made an impact. And for an undrafted guy, or maybe it was a 7th-round pick, I'm forgetting. But that's somebody where I think could be a sneaky target stealer from him. But I think that they've invested enough in him at this point to where they're going to see what he has early. So the Panthers could be more exciting to watch than they have been in years recent. And I think that Tett McMillan could be a part of that, especially given some of that unique, dynamic skill set that he has. Now, this next guy, let's roll into your next guy, Travis Kelce. I see here. So I'm sensing a theme. If you're an old, maybe slightly getting washed up white guy, you might end up on Justin Santana's roster next year.
Well, honestly, this is just looking at his value, where he's being drafted at. He over the past several years, he's been a debatable 1st-round target in most drafts. That 1st, 2nd round where you're seeing guys like Brock Bowers and Trey McBride go this year. At this point, he's got an ADP of 78, so we're looking at mid-6th round in those 12-guy drafts. Tight end 6 coming off the board, being drafted behind guys like T.J. Hawkinson, Sam Laporta. There's been a lot of reports he spent this offseason really focusing on his game. Some reports saying he wants to have one more really big season before he retires. I think there was a lot of debate last year and last offseason how focused he was on the game rather than his personal life. So it's definitely a good thing to see those reports that, he is focused and ready to come back. The thing that worries me on this is the return of Rashee Rice. It does sound like there may be a suspension looming on that.
It's got to be.
But even
he has to serve jail time, right? If you have to serve jail time, then you have to get suspended.
I think from what I've read, we're looking at a 5 to 6 game suspension. So, even at that, if he comes back mid-season healthy, ready to play, so I think you'll get a target hog in those first 5 to 6 weeks from Kelce, like we have come to expect from him. I think long-term, they're going to have a lot of mouths to feed in that offense with Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. They have a running game. There are a lot of mouths to feed. So that is the part that kind of worries me. But looking at a 6th-round value compared to what he has been recently, I definitely think he will return at minimum 6th-round value here.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. And if you had told me a few years ago, even regardless of how old Travis Kelce was playing, if he was still on the Chiefs and still a tight end, and I could get him in the 6th, 7th round, I would be ecstatic, right? I wouldn't believe you. And mainly that ties into the fact that tight end was such a just desolate wasteland position for so long there. There was a good 3 to 4 year stretch where it was like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and then Darren Waller for 1 year,
Nobody.
and then the wheels fell off. And so it was like every week you were just trying to draft a guy who could get a touchdown catch. Like, because every other tight end that was all that you drafted was like, well, they're going to get 3 catches for 35 yards, and it's just what tight end gets the touchdown catch that week. But now it's changed. It's deeper than ever. I mean, you have all of the guys you mentioned, then you have Dalton Kincaid, you have Darren Waller coming back to the league. So I mean,
we'll see what he's got left in him.
I know, but I think it's interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how the tight end position gets valued as a whole. And like, because for me, it's almost like now I might treat it like a quarterback, where okay, if there's a definite tier where I'm wanting a guy. And is that the Travis Kelce tier where he's in now, or do I say, well, I'm fine with the 10th, 11th tight end off the board? So I'll need to dig deeper into that. But I think, again, potential wise, he could have a massive impact. I think the days of him being the first round type producer are gone, but I think he has that really great week in him, really great string of weeks that could put you in a good position to win some weeks and get yourself in high up in the standings in your league.
And the last thing I want to say on him is, you can't forget about the chemistry that he has with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the guys, Mahomes always knows where he's at, especially down around the red zone. He's, I would say, minimum 5-6 touchdowns this year. So, I mean, that should keep him afloat there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Now let's move on to your last mid-round value that you have for right now is Jaden Higgins. Tell me about Jaden.
So he is right now coming off the board, mid-10th round, wide receiver 54. At this point, all the reports are pointing to him having secured the number 2 slot in Houston, obviously behind Nico Collins, who is a target hog in and of itself, but as a 10th round value in a high octane offense that is going to throw the ball because they have a great quarterback there. He's, really without Nico, there's no competition behind him. They did draft Jalen Noel. He came in the 3rd round, but everything that I've seen has Jaden in that number 2 slot. He played at Iowa State in the Big 12. Again, had a big year, 87 catches, almost 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, very similar production to Tett McMillan in the same conference. And in all honesty, going to a better offense, just in a number 2 role instead of a number 1, which I think is why we're seeing the difference in where they're coming off the board.
Okay. You are a much bigger believer in the Houston offense than I am. Like, the fact that you're still willing to throw like a high octane offense with a prolific quarterback, like, I don't know that to be the case.
So yes, CJ Stroud had a down year last year. I mean, he coming off of one of the best rookie quarterback seasons we've seen in a long time. Their offensive line is a huge question mark, and that is the one thing that honestly will have me putting my foot in my mouth at the end of the year on this, is that, I mean, CJ showed last season that he can struggle at times when he's got pressure on him. So unless that changes, again, I may be eating rocks here, but I do believe that they're going to turn that around, even though they traded away, honestly, their best offensive lineman last season in Laramie Tunsil, sent him over to Washington. The hope is that coaching staff has a plan there. But I am a big believer in the Houston offense and what they can do, the weapons that they have.
Yeah. Does it factor into the decision that CJ Stroud's on your team in the Dynasty League? Who knows?
He's actually not. I traded him away.
Did you trade him?
So,
fair. Okay. So it is an unbiased opinion here.
I made an off-season trade and got rid of CJ Stroud. I had a great keeper value on him, but it was one of those things. I made a decision I wasn't going to keep a quarterback again. So
I'm with you on that. Now, the last thing I want to say on this one with Jaden Higgins. Now, what round did you say he was going in right now?
He's coming off the board middle of the 10th round right now.
Okay. So, yeah, and that's where, for me, and my draft strategy in general, is in the 10th round, like, that's where I'm more willing than ever to swing for the fences because,
Absolutely.
10th rounds don't lose you drafts or does not lose you your league. If your 10th round pick doesn't pan out, so what? Like that's where I stand. Like, but 10th round picks can certainly win you your league. So when you have a guy who can go off like a Jaden Higgins and could end up being a piece that performs at a third, fourth round level, like that's how you win in fantasy football. You have to have guys that hit in this range of the draft at some point.
And I mean, honestly, a good comparison for me, and that is someone that you don't have on your board or on the graphic here, but someone that I am really high on is Zach Charbonnet this year, who again also coming off the board in mid to late 10th round, RB38 off the board, does little to nothing by himself. Like I don't think he has a lot of standalone value, but he's one Kenneth Walker injury away from being the bona fide RB1 on that team.
Oh yeah,
he showed when he is the RB1, he is valuable, and getting that in the 10th round. If you don't have Kenneth Walker, even so, I'm willing to spend a 10th round pick and I mean wait and see what happens with Kenneth because he hasn't shown me that he's not going to get an injury and be out for a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah, and Kenneth Walker's going to get hurt at some point in the year. Like he is going to have an injury or two, and I don't know. Zach Charbonnet is a guy I've been amazed that he hasn't gotten more burn the past couple of years, given how good he's looked when he's given the opportunity. And I get it. Walker is a more physical runner, and that's great. But he also is an injury liability. He doesn't do as much in the receiving game. Like there's just so much to like about Charbonnet's role, and now with kind of a new system, new quarterback all around him. Like I think there's a potential for things to be shifty and change a little bit there, and maybe that leads to him getting more of a role. But didn't they draft another running back as well, or am I making that up? The Seahawks.
They might have. I think they did. It was either 7th round or might have been an undrafted.
Okay, I thought it was a little earlier. I was like, oh god, did they? Because like they drafted a running back like every year, which was weird.
But I mean. Honestly, a lot of the so-called, experts are super high on Kenneth Walker this year. The hard part for me in seeing guys like that is and this includes Christian McCaffrey as well, is wherever you're drafting those guys, you're almost guaranteeing yourself that you have to invest another pick in addition to that one, because you either have to get a handcuff or you have to get a guy that can give you value in that starting position if and when they get hurt.
Yeah.
So that makes it very difficult to draft those guys, but another reason why I like Zach Charbonnet where he's at in the 10th, take that chance that Kenneth is going to end up going down.
I'm with you 100%. Now let's move into the last area that we're focusing on. That is in the late round sleepers. These are guys that we're not saying I'm not going to put these are your sleepers, but for me, when I think late round sleepers, like you can't predict a sleeper to go off. Like you don't predict Puka Nacua. You maybe draft him in like the last round because you think there's an opportunity. And that's my one claim to fame with sleepers. I did draft Puka Nacua in 2 leagues. I did not have to get him off the waiver wire. But Justin, tell me why you think these guys could pop, because I'm assuming that's why you like them, right?
Absolutely. So the first one being Roschon Johnson. He's late 16th round pick. So, for leagues that have that 16th round, if they don't, he's going undrafted. I mean, this is a guy that I expect to take that David Montgomery role in a Ben Johnson offense. You saw what he did in Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I expect us, maybe not immediately, but at some point in the season to end up with that kind of Sonic and Knuckles type look. I think these are budget Sonic and Knuckles. Like, I don't think that they are David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, but
great value, Sonic and Knuckles.
Right. Absolutely. For where they're being drafted. I mean, again, this is 100% you're taking a shot in the dark and hoping that at what this ends up in the 16th round. Even if it doesn't, I do think you're going to see Roschon Johnson get some of those high value carries in the red zone. You see those goal line carries. I think he ends up with several touchdowns this year. I personally put him in the 6 to 7 range, which 6 to 7 touchdowns, I'm happy to take that on a 16th round flyer. I mean,
yeah.
But I think Ben Johnson is going to play a huge role in this backfield.
Yeah, and he knows how to use running backs, to your point. And I was this is a kind of classic example of like a post hype sleeper. Like, I mean, 2 years ago he was hyped, last year nothing, but he's a physical runner, and like some guys get a bad rap and then turns out they weren't that bad after all. Like I remember when David Montgomery was with the Bears. There was a Yahoo Fantasy update that came after one of the games that was talking about his performance, and I think the line in this official put out by Yahoo thing was David Montgomery has the agility of a refrigerator box. And I was like, holy shit. But no, I think like he's the offense could be really good next year, could be really improved, and he could be a big piece of that.
And the Chicago went out and they put in a lot of effort, a lot of money into their offensive line this year, so we're going to see that much improved. I think seeing this running game improved is going to take some pressure off Caleb Williams, which improves the offense as a whole. So I think there's a lot of value to be had in this pick. I also, honestly, I like the DeAndre Swift value. I think he's right now ADP in the late 7th, early 8th round. I don't have it offhand, but I like where he's going right now too. I just think there's more value to be had with the Roschon Johnson pick.
Yeah, and DeAndre Swift is just such a boom or bust guy, especially like if he's not involved on not getting as much passing game involvement, like he gets a little limited. So I think for me, I'll probably invest my early round picks a little differently. Now tell me about Ollie Gordon. I'm not super familiar with him.
This is honestly, one of my favorite picks out of all of these guys that we've talked about today. Ollie Gordon coming out of Oklahoma State. Honestly, he had a huge sophomore season, and was super hyped. A lot of people thought he was going to come out in the draft, ended up returning to Oklahoma State, and then had a down year, and which is why we saw him essentially lose all of his value. I think he was drafted in the 7th round. I mean, this was a guy that I think we could have seen in the 2nd or 3rd round the year before. But even in his down year, I mean, his carries were down to 190 from 285. We saw his yardage drop, obviously, down to 880 yards from 1732. So obviously he had a monster season that year. He still had 13 touchdowns. It was down from the 21, but I mean, 13 touchdowns for most running backs is a solid season.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that I think come mid to end of the year, we could see him again taking those that power back role from Devon Achane again. And Devon Achane is one of those guys that I think is going to be injury prone. He's a smaller back. Yes, he's lightning quick and explosive and makes all the exciting plays. But this is a guy that I think will come in behind him and be that big body bruiser that they need in that Miami offense, because they do have a lot of those faster guys. This will be a nice change of pace back for them.
Yeah, and if there's a team that knows how to utilize an unheralded player, it's the Miami Dolphins, especially in the running back room.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, you can't count out any running back that steps into that running back room. So get it again, long shot, but if something happens, like this, we're all Justin's saying here is keep an eye on him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw like the resurgence from Raheem Mostert. He had a monster year in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDaniel knows what he's doing with that offense and the running backs in that backfield. So, I mean, all you are is one injury away from this guy just taking over a backfield and making it his, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like they have an eye for running backs. You look at the guys that they've brought in. So you look at Mostert, Achane. It was a Jeff Wilson that was really good when he played. And they scheme up really well. So it's like if they can get guys, or if they identify a guy they like and they bring him in, that should tell you something about how they feel about his talent. Now, Dylan Sampson, this was one you had as an honorable mention, but I wanted to throw him in. Well, I know there's some off the field stuff contributing to this, but what makes you maybe think about maybe not drafting, but picking up Dylan Sampson?
So I just want it to be known, I had this written up before all of the news came out with Quinshon Judkins. So at the time, he was going in the 16th round or undrafted, RB 56 off the board. I'm sure at the time that this video is going to be showing, it will probably be much higher than that, given the state of things. If Judkins does actually sign a contract, we're looking at a possible suspension there. So you end up going from someone that most people thought was going to be a day one starter to now you have Jerome Ford in the backfield, and we've all seen the last couple of years between Chubb injuries what he's able to do as a starter. I think with where this Browns offense is going to be going or lack thereof, they're going to want to see what they have in their rookies. So Dylan Sampson is someone that is able to take that third down role, even with Ford healthy. Ford has been an early down thumper most of his career. So, you see those high value passing downs going to Sampson. The coaching staff has come out and said his pass blocking has been great so far, which is typically a big red flag for rookies coming in. So it's good to hear that. And then again, where you're at where you're going to be drafting this guy is going to make a lot of value for you, or potentially not, depending on how high you're willing to take him. But
Yeah.
Honestly, with the Judkins suspension and all of the news around that, I think personally I would put him. I still think it's a flyer, so I'm putting him in at earliest maybe 13th round. Where I'm comfortable would be that 14 to 15 range.
Yeah, and I don't think he's gonna surge much higher than that. I think the general dissidence surrounding the Browns roster and their offense right now, I don't think people will draft a backup running back, even as a rookie, much higher than kind of what you were saying, that 16th, 15th round. Maybe it gets pushed up a couple, but even then, like 15th, 13th round, who cares? That's like guys you're going to probably cut at some point anyway.
Right. And that was kind of my thing with all of these late round quote unquote sleepers. They're guys that, you take a flyer on, you sit on it for a couple of weeks, but absolute worst case scenario, you don't feel bad about your team cutting them and putting them on the waivers.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel bad if someone else picks them up and has them on their roster, and you're like, well, now I don't get that value. Well, there was no value to be had at that point. So
yeah. No, I hear you. Well, I think, Justin, these were some overall really good picks. I would say as we get closer to the draft, we're definitely going to get back together. We'll talk a little bit more about the draft board as it evolves, as we're talking about guys who we want to keep, who we're excited to keep. We're going to have a lot more kind of pre-draft content. So I appreciate you joining us tonight, Justin. Everyone, if you watched this, got some out of it, subscribe to the channel, get notified when we have some more stuff come out. We cover everything from NBA to the NFL and the draft. So excited to have you guys here with us. Hope to see you on the next one.
Sounds good. Thanks.